So good morning everyone, my name is Kim Yu and together with the team Ashima and Kelly, we'll be sharing with you about the downsides of putting too much stress on your children, and we want to encourage you guys to allow them to explore beyond just the academics. After all, your child is still young and they have a great capacity to learn things. So before we begin, can everyone just do me a quick favor, just join us in this activity, write down on the pink post-it real quick what you aspire your child to be, like any dream jobs you want them, like maybe be a good doctor, very famous lawyer next time. Just write down real quick. Yeah, okay, so once you're done, then you can just look back and say, I know you're done. Okay, so let's begin. So I'm going to start by sharing a story. Back when I was a boy, I used to go hearing my mom shouting from the kitchen, "Boy, don't come home too late. Remember, come back for dinner." Then I'll run out the door. I'll be all excited. Yay! Then I run towards the playground to play. Life during my childhood was carefree and fun, and the daily routine is just wake up, go to school, learn something, come back home, maybe go out and play again. Then maybe come back home again and do some homework, I guess. Life was simple. But nowadays, you don't see kids running to the playground right after school immediately. Instead, you see them heading off towards tuition centers and sitting again in the boring classroom setting and learning more stuff, I guess. But that's perfectly understandable why you send your children for tuition. Like, a survey by the Straits Times has shown that 8 in 10 parents with children in primary school are sending their kids for tuition. And that's very concerning for me, because back when I was a child, I don't remember ever having to study all that hard in primary school. Maybe except for primary 6, because PSL is right around the corner. So yeah, it's understandable why you're sending your children for tuition. I mean, we've all been through this education system. We know how important it is to get that head start, to get an advantage over our peers in order to do well, since everything is marked through a bell curve. That's how you are graded. But I feel that every time we send them for tuition, for extra classes after school, we need to keep in mind that what we are taking away from our children is the time that they could be spent just them relaxing, unwinding after a long tiring day at school, or perhaps even for them to explore their interests, other passions that they have beyond just the academics. Yeah. So here we need to ask ourselves again, is education equals to success? Is putting all that extra load and pressure on your child really worth it? Is it really going to bring them to where you want them to be? And that is what I've asked you guys to write down on the pink post-it from the start. So I'd like you guys to keep this in mind as you think about all this, and I'll pass on the time to Hashima, who will discuss more about the current state of our children's mental health, and it is very concerning to all of us.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. So now I'll be moving on to the importance of nurturing our children and supporting them. So every child is unique. Everyone has their own developmental stages. From 3 years old to 5 years old, our children learn how to jump or how to hop. From 5 to 7 years old, they learn how to distinguish amongst their friends. This variant of ages shows how our children develop to different extents and at different rates. So every child is unique. Our goal as parents is then to be extremely sensitive about our children's developmental phases. So we need to truly understand how they are developing and tailor our parenting styles according to them. We shouldn't be saying based on my friend Margaret treats her child this way and I should do the same. That's not how we are encouraging our parenting styles. Instead, we are encouraging you to tailor your own parenting styles to your children. The problem arises when our children's abilities and our expectations of them do not match. They are like parallel lines. This causes problems and it can aid in causing mental distress on our kids. Recent studies have shown that Singapore students are scoring extremely well in mathematics, science, and reading. But what the statistics does not share is that our students are also experiencing very high rates of anxiety. This is according to international statistics by OECD. Next, more teenagers are seeking help from the IMH. And this is also very concerning because most of them are cases from school-related stress. The first two indicators are extremely concerning because they show that our Singaporean students are facing mental health distress and their mental health is deteriorating. This is further emphasized by our last statistic, that suicide rates are increasing. In 2010 alone, our suicide rates has increased by 10%. And it's more concerning that the highest rate is by our students, our boys who are aged 10 to 19. So now I'll be sharing a story about a boy who committed suicide. He is referred to as Master H. In 2016, he took his own life after his results at his Primary 5 mid-year examinations was not up to his parents' standards. He was too scared to face them and decided that taking his own life was the easiest way out. This is extremely heart-wrenching to me because he had so much ahead of him. He had so much potential that was still untapped, and yet he thought that suicide, because of his bad grades, because of his parents' expectations, was the one way to go. The more alarming thing for me is that this is not the only case. It's one of many. So this is where I emphasize how it's really important for us to care about students, to understand our children as a whole, understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and accept them for everything that they are. Please Stay is an advocacy group that is started up by 5 mothers. These mothers have each lost a child to suicide. So their main goal is to advocate for mental health amongst our youth especially. And one of them has said this very, very important quote that I think we should all take away, that even though our children are all still young, their insecurities are very, very important and we should not let this go. So before I start off with our next activity, I would like to stress on one very important thing. Even if you forget about the statistics that I shared, there's one takeaway that I hope all of you will remember tomorrow. It is that our children are ours and they're all very unique, and it's very important that you understand them and their capabilities to the fullest extent. So now I'll ask you to take your yellow pieces of Post-its, and this time you can write down a wish that you hope for your children to be feeling 10-15 years down the road. It can be anything, feeling healthy, feeling happy, feeling content with life. Just an emotion that you wish for them to be encompassing 10-15 years down the road. And while you're writing this down, I'll pass my time over to Kelly.
Thank you, Hashima. From the story of Master H by Hashima, we are well aware of the consequences from pushing our child too far. Is it worth it to put your child through high stress and a possible birth of mental illness? Even our government is well aware of the limitations of our education system. Education Minister explained that the recent changes are due to such as the removal of certain examinations and indicators is an attempt to instill joy of learning and to reduce the emphasis on grades. You too can follow suit. Joseph Schooling, our national swimmer, swam his way to obtain a gold Olympic medal. Nathan Montano, the first runner-up to Sing China 2016, was nominated by the Straits Times to the Singaporean of the Year award. He was also appointed to promote Chinese language to the Singapore students. Both Joseph Schooling and Nathan Montano followed their passions and achieved their dreams. George Craig, the founder and chairman of Red Talk, and Charles Wong, co-founder of Charles & Keith, did not have a university degree, but they are both currently millionaires with multinational corporations. You may think that children are not aware of what is in store for them, hence they are unable to make an informed decision. However, education achievement is not all that is relevant anymore. These success stories would not have been possible if Nathan Hartono and Joseph Schooling only focused on their academics. We're not asking you to let go of your children completely, but rather, instead of dictating a particular route, to give them options and to be open-minded in this quick changing world. Having good grades is not all that there is to life. Having good grades does not guarantee a good school and does not guarantee like ultimately bringing you a good life. Parents, then now can you help me to take a look at both the post-its that you have? Look at what you have now and evaluate which is ultimately more important to you, which is of a higher priority. Then crush the one that you do not want. From this exercise, I hope you understand the importance of your child's well-being. To sum it up, having good grades do not guarantee the future and success of your children, but what you can do is to let your child explore, be happy, and develop them to their fullest potential. Thank you.
Questions? Yes.
Okay, do you think it's very difficult to convince parents that they can really change the way they think of their child?
I think it will be significantly harder than convincing, say, a youth in terms of how they should be empowered, because parents ultimately will believe that it's their children and they know what's best for their own children. So like as such, they might think that we as a council or other advocates, they are telling them how to change and how they should be treating their own children might seem as though they are removing away their power or authority as a parent. So it might be a bit harder for them to change and accept other people's opinions. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
How can parents ensure that children are still successful or good at school and their grades while still giving them options because time is limited?
Well, that's like a very valid point. However, we're not asking them to give up on their studies completely, but rather to give them options and take a look at what's around them. For example, maybe they have CCA, so we can just empower them to do what they like.
Yeah, to add on, it's like we're just trying to encourage parents to allow their kids to have more fun, I guess, because when you're in the process of having fun, you can learn things better as well. So you go through your school, you don't try to add more stress on them to perform well academically. If they're scoring an 80, that's pretty good. You don't have to go for 90, this kind of thing. Then the time set aside, you can let them explore other interests that they might have, like drawing, perhaps.
Do you all have any more questions?
You said we need to strike a balance between tuition as well as having fun. Then what kind of advice would you give parents to have that right balance? What is right balance then?
I would guess is to take note of the timetable, because when you plan out for your child, you definitely have some form of schedule planned out for him. So, I mean, you can write it down and it will then occur to you that, hey, this looks way too packed for a child. Then that's when I think it will strike you that when you plan out, write down exactly during this time, what is he doing exactly. I guess that will show the parent that we are putting too much time into all this tuition and your child has no other time to do other things.
I think to add on to that, perhaps really researching on the tuition and like the teaching capabilities being provided to the child itself, because they're going to school. So perhaps if they're not scoring as well, you should talk to the child, talk to the parents, see if it maybe is the teaching style being provided that is not working out for the child. Because if it's such a case, then giving a tuition might be helpful. But if it's because perhaps the child doesn't like the subject, etc., then perhaps tuition is not the most effective way to go. So finding out what is causing the problem for the child and truly understanding what the child needs is more important rather than grades, so tuition.
In addition, I think like when you look at the timetable and the schedule of a child, it's important to give them at least 1 to 2 hours of their own time to do and explore what they really like instead of packing like from morning to night.
Okay, thank you.